Nearly 400,000 kilometers away, a monumental shift is happening in total silence. China has moved beyond the stage of simple planning and has officially begun building the first permanent human outpost on the lunar surface. Are we prepared for a future where the moon is no longer just a distant light in the sky, but a bustling construction site? How did a project of this massive scale begin without the world even noticing? This is not about planting a flag and returning home. It is about establishing a foothold in a place that has spent billions of years as a graveyard for failed ambitions. While the rest of the world watches, the landscape of our night sky is being rewritten by machines and robots already operating on that gray, dusty frontier. The lunar surface is not just desolate. It is a brutal environment that serves as a graveyard for countless probes and failed human ambitions. While landing safely is a logistical nightmare, the true enemy is the environment itself. Imagine a world with no air and no atmosphere to offer protection from the void. When the sun rises, the temperature cooks everything at over 120 degrees Celsius. When it sets, you face an instant deep freeze of -30 degrees. Because the moon rotates so slowly, you must endure 14 days of scorching heat followed by 14 days of total, icy darkness. With a constant bombardment of cosmic radiation and meteorites, how can China plan to keep humans alive in this celestial hellscape? To understand the magnitude of this challenge, we must look back to 2019. China achieved a historic landing on the far side of the moon with the Chang'e 4 mission, carrying a small, sealed biosphere experiment. Inside were cotton seeds, potatoes, fruit fly eggs, and yeast, all part of an audacious attempt to create a self-sustaining cycle of life. In the beginning, a miracle occurred when the cotton seeds sprouted, marking the first time a green leaf was ever born on the lunar surface. It was a moment of pure hope, but the moon remains a merciless host. Within days, brutal temperature fluctuations penetrated the container, freezing the tiny sprout instantly. This loss proved that the moon is a literal death zone. Forcing a complete shift in strategy, humans will not be sent yet. The machines must go first. Following the silent death of those first lunar sprouts, the reality became clear. The moon is far too dangerous for human arrival at this stage. This realization birthed a master plan, consisting of 3 visionary phases designed to conquer the lunar surface through automation before a single person ever sets foot there. The first phase is dedicated entirely to reconnaissance, a period of deep observation where data is more valuable than any physical footprint. We are currently exactly halfway through this first phase, with robotic sensors and cameras mapping the gray horizon to find the perfect foundation for our future. Once this reconnaissance is complete, the mission will transition into the second phase, which focuses on heavy construction. This is the stage where the cold, unyielding silence of the moon will be broken by the rhythmic movement of machines building a legacy. It is here that we will witness the incredible moment when science fiction finally transforms into our physical reality. Only after the heavy lifting is finished and the safety of the site is guaranteed will the plan move to the third and final phase, which is human habitation. This final step will see the first permanent residents move into a world that was prepared for them long before they ever left Earth. By prioritizing machines over people in these early stages, the goal is to ensure that when humans do arrive, they are not arriving as temporary explorers, but as the permanent tenants of a completed home. We are standing on the precipice of the most significant transition in human history. Moving from simply looking at the moon to actively redesigning it for ourselves, how exactly do you build a home in a world where there are no hardware stores, no construction crews, and no local material supplies? This is the fundamental question that has haunted space agencies for decades. The obvious solution would be to build every component on Earth and launch them on massive rockets to the lunar surface. However, shipping everything from our home planet is incredibly expensive, risky, and highly inefficient. Every single kilogram launched into the void costs a literal fortune, making the dream of a large-scale colony nearly impossible if we rely solely on Earth's resources. China has recognized this barrier and has chosen a much more difficult but infinitely smarter path. They are focusing on what scientists call in situ resource utilization, which basically means learning how to live off the land. The upcoming Chang'e 8 mission, which is scheduled for 2028, is designed to test a revolutionary technology that could change everything. Its goal is to transform the lunar soil, also known as regolith, into solid building bricks. The process itself is fascinating to imagine. Autonomous robots will sweep across the lunar South Pole, collecting the fine-grade dust and placing it into specific molds. These robots will then cook the blocks in high-temperature ovens, turning loose dust into hardened structural bricks. Picture robotic masons tirelessly stacking these bricks to create rectangles, cubes, and arches in the silent lunar landscape. These thick blocks of lunar stone are perfect for the job because they are naturally designed to block lethal radiation and provide a stable layer of insulation against the extreme temperature swings of the surface. However, this method introduces a significant engineering problem: internal pressure. Because the moon has no atmosphere, the interior of any base must be pressurized so that humans can breathe without heavy spacesuits. The issue is that square or rectangular structures made of bricks are terrible at holding pressure. Think about the design of gas tanks or submarines. They are always round or cylindrical for a reason. Sharp corners create points of weakness that could literally explode under the force of internal air pressure. Because of this, the Chinese plan is to use these lunar bricks as a protective outer shell, while the actual living quarters inside remain rounded and pressurized for safety. But China has a second, even more futuristic strategy hidden up its sleeve. What if we did not need to stack bricks at all? What if we could simply print the entire base from the ground up? This is the concept of the moonpot vessel. In this scenario, the robotic masons are replaced by a giant three-dimensional printer that uses lunar soil mixed with a special adhesive brought from Earth. This massive machine begins by creating a solid concrete slab to absorb the vibrations from moonquakes, which are a very real threat on the lunar surface. Once the foundation is set, the printer nozzle moves in continuous circles, building the walls layer by layer. The design of these structures mimics the strength found in nature, specifically the structure of an eggshell. The walls consist of three distinct layers: an outer shell, an inner shell, and a middle structure made of triangular ribs for maximum strength. This specialized design allows the building to hold air pressure without needing any extra internal lining. Furthermore, this three-dimensional printing technology allows China to build upward. On the moon, gravity is only 1/6 of what we experience on Earth. This means that climbing stairs is effortless, and there is no wind to knock down tall, thin buildings. Whether they are stacking bricks or printing giant pots, none of these incredible feats will matter if they cannot solve the biggest bottleneck of any civilization power. Even if we successfully master the art of robotic construction and manage to print entire cities from the lunar dust, every grand ambition for a lunar civilization eventually faces a singular, unyielding wall. That wall is energy. Without a massive and reliable source of power, the most advanced habitat is nothing more than a cold, silent monument in the dark. In the history of human progress, energy has always been the ultimate bottleneck. And on the moon, this challenge is magnified to a terrifying degree. To keep the lights on, the air pressurized, and the systems running, China has proposed a solution that is as technically logical as it is politically controversial. For decades, we have looked to the sun as the primary savior for space exploration. Solar panels are an elegant solution in many contexts, but the moon is a uniquely difficult environment for solar energy. We must remember that a single lunar night lasts for 14 terrestrial days. That is 336 hours of total, uninterrupted darkness where not a single photon of sunlight reaches the surface to charge a battery. Current battery technology is simply not capable of storing enough energy to power an entire functioning city through 2 weeks of darkness without a fresh charge. For a permanent colony, relying on the sun is a gamble that could end in a frozen catastrophe during the very first long night. This realization led to a historic and heavy decision. In 2025, the governments of China and Russia announced a strategic partnership that sent shockwaves through the global community. Their plan is to build a fully functional nuclear power plant on the lunar surface. This move makes perfect geopolitical and technical sense for both nations. Russia, primarily through its state agency Rosatom, remains a world leader in nuclear technology. They have a long history of exporting reactors across the globe and have even successfully pioneered floating nuclear power plants in the harsh environment of the Arctic. Critics might point to the recent struggles of the Russian space program, specifically the 2023 mission, where the Luna 25 probe collided with the Moon and exploded. However, when it comes to the science of the atom, Russia's expertise is undeniable. They understand how to harness nuclear energy in ways few other nations can match. When you combine that nuclear mastery with China's relentless drive and robotic construction capabilities, you have a partnership that can actually solve the energy crisis of the lunar frontier. Ironically, the Moon is perhaps the most perfect location in the solar system for a nuclear reactor. On Earth, we worry about cooling systems and the environmental impact of waste. But these problems are viewed through a different lens on the Moon. To cool a reactor, engineers can simply place it in the perpetual shadow of a deep crater, where the temperature remains naturally and intensely cold at all times. This provides an infinite natural heat sink that simplifies the engineering of the power plant. Then there is the issue of nuclear waste, which is a significant concern for any project on Earth. On the Moon, however, this concern becomes almost irrelevant. The lunar surface is already being bombarded by lethal cosmic radiation 24 hours a day. It is an environment that is already naturally toxic to biological life. Adding a small amount of contained radioactive material to a world that is already radioactive and airless does not make the environment worse. It simply utilizes a space that is already hostile to our existence. With an infinite supply of energy guaranteed by these reactors and the muscle of Chinese robotics, the mission can finally move into its most ambitious phase, leaving the dangerous surface and heading deep into the shadows below. While the lunar surface is currently the stage for a grand display of robotic construction and nuclear-powered engineering, it remains a fundamentally hostile territory. The vacuum of space, the relentless radiation, and the extreme shifts in temperature make living above the ground a constant, exhausting battle against the elements. However, beneath that scarred and dusty exterior lies a hidden sanctuary that might just be the true key to human survival in deep space. We have discovered that the Moon is not a solid, lifeless rock. It is filled with ancient secrets, specifically in the form of lava tubes. These are massive, hollow tunnels formed billions of years ago by volcanic activity when the Moon was still a molten world. Some of these natural structures are so vast that they could comfortably house entire cities within their protective stone walls. The logic behind moving our operations beneath the surface is as sound as the lunar rock itself. If the surface is a zone of death, the underground is a cradle of possibility. These caverns are not just geological curiosities. They are perfect, ready-made fortresses for a burgeoning civilization. In a world where there is no atmosphere to slow down or vaporize a speeding meteorite, the thick rock ceiling of a lava tube provides instant and absolute protection for anything living beneath it. More importantly, these tubes act as a natural shield against the constant bombardment of cosmic radiation. On the surface, this radiation would likely limit a human being's lifespan to just a few months. But deep underground, the danger is neutralized by meters of solid lunar basalt. Perhaps the most incredible advantage of choosing a life in the shadows is the temperature. While the surface oscillates between boiling heat and bone-chilling cold, the deep interior of these lava tubes remains remarkably stable. This stability is a game-changer for engineering. It allows us to move away from the frantic, high-energy demands of constant heating and cooling systems that are required on the surface. Within the belly of the Moon, we find an environment that is naturally tempered, allowing for a much more efficient and sustainable habitat. China is already taking the lead in preparing to claim this subterranean frontier. The Chang'e 7 mission, which is currently scheduled for 2026, is equipped with a highly specialized ground-penetrating radar. This technology is designed specifically to hunt for these hidden caverns near the lunar South Pole. This region is of particular interest because it is where the most valuable resources, such as water ice, are believed to exist. By finding a lava tube near these resources, the Chinese Space Agency is essentially locating the perfect foundation for the first permanent human colony. This shift in strategy completely changes every image we have held about the future of space exploration. We must move past the idea of fragile glass domes and gleaming white towers shown in science fiction movies. The reality of our future in space is much more grounded. The first true city on the Moon will not be a visible monument on the plains. It will likely be a high-tech subterranean network. It will be a modern marvel of engineering hidden safely within the belly of another world, using the moon's own history to protect our future. We are looking at a transition that is both revolutionary and deeply familiar. Thousands of years ago, the human species sought refuge in caves on Earth to survive the harsh climates and predators of our home planet. Now, as we prepare to leap into the stars, we find ourselves returning to the caves once again. The mission in 2026 represents a pivotal moment where the moon stops being a place we simply visit for a few days and starts becoming a place where we can actually belong. By mapping the deep interior of the lunar South Pole, we are creating a blueprint for a life that is no longer dictated by the brutal conditions of the surface. This is the ultimate evolution of the lunar master plan, starting as observers, becoming builders, and finally finding a permanent sanctuary deep within the lunar crust. So, how close are we actually to seeing this vision of a lunar city become a reality? If you look at the current timeline, the progress is moving at an aggressive and relentless pace. The actual construction of the lunar base is scheduled to begin in the decade of the 2030s. The primary target for this monumental effort is the lunar South Pole, a region chosen specifically because it contains the most valuable resources, including the most critical asset for any human presence: water ice. The strategy China is employing is clear and logical. They are building a fully robotic installation first. This means that no human will have to endure the grueling labor of carrying bricks or assembling structures in the vacuum of space. By the time the first Chinese astronauts arrive, which is estimated to be around the mid-2030s, their home will already be waiting for them, complete with power, breathable air, and established protection. This approach marks a fundamental shift in how we view space exploration. The goal is no longer to repeat the style of the American Apollo missions from decades ago, where explorers would land, stay for 3 days, and then return home. This time, they are going to stay to achieve this permanent presence. China has planned 5 major landings between the years of 2031 and 2035. Each of these missions will deliver a vital piece of the overall puzzle, including command centers, advanced laboratories, mining facilities, and astronomical observatories. However, China is not the only player on this new celestial stage. The United States is moving forward with its own ambitious plans through the Artemis program. We are currently witnessing the beginning of a second space race, but the stakes this time are vastly different from the first. In the 60s, the race was about national prestige and proving technological superiority. Today, the race is about territory and resources. The question is no longer whether humans will live on the moon, but who will be the ones to establish the rules and laws of this new world. We are standing at a crossroads that will define the future of our species. Will the moon become a collaborative international colony, or will it be carved up into sovereign territories? As we watch these machines build a bridge to the stars, we have to wonder about our own place in that future. Would you be willing to leave the safety of Earth to live in a high-tech city hidden beneath the lunar surface? Or would you prefer to stay here on our home planet? Your opinion matters because we are all part of this journey. If this exploration of our future in space has opened your mind, please remember to show your support by liking this video and subscribing to the channel. Share this story with anyone you know who is fascinated by the mysteries of astronomy. There is so much more to discover about this new era of exploration, and you will not want to miss what comes next. Thank you for watching, and as always, keep looking toward the stars.